Good morning. This morning I wanted to have tea with you, and it's a ceremonial tea. It's a new ceremony that I'm putting together here at my business and home, and I'm doing it in my magical tent. And so this is kind of the setup with all the colors and lights, and this is the setting. And I hope that one day we can have tea together. Until then, we'll do this. And thank goodness for the world of this intranet, right? So that we can all be connected and we can have tea across the world. Yeah, so whenever you watch this is the right time for you, and the message is right for you, because I do not believe in coincidence. I do believe that their frequency attracts whoever it is that's needed. So there are 3 ways to experience something. To do it as is, the objects like food or drinks, and then there is the connoisseur way of doing it, and then there is the ceremonial way of doing it. When you move to ceremony, it is more of a ritual, and it makes it sacred. It gives it reverence, and whatever you give reverence to gives it significance, and it grounds it from the celestial to the terrestrial into this world. It integrates it all, and then if you repeatedly do it, it becomes more grounded. It's like every time you water a plant, right? And then it grows because it needs nourishment. So the ceremony of a tea, they have done across all cultures and for thousands of years. This ceremonial tea is called the Chow Dao, which is where it's the way of tea. So the reason that tea is so significant is that it brings you to a place of stillness, community, and also peace. And a lot of times they do tea ceremony in surrendering too, like for peace treaties. So the reason I'm attracted to this is because I've always been a connoisseur of tea, and I drink it as a beverage too. I enjoy all types of teas, herbal, English, the Argentinian yerba mate. However, I was just introduced to this not too long ago from my friend Tracy Stanley, and she had a podcast on the ritual and culture or cultivation of community with the ritual. And so I decided to play with it a little bit more because I love playing and I love rituals. So Colin of Living Tea talked about the difference between the tea leaves, and I love trees, right? And they cultivate the tree leaves from trees. However, in the leaf cutting technique, the tree doesn't last very long. It lasts like maybe 30 years. However, a tree grown from a seed will, it can be infinite, and it just depends on how much you nourish it. So the tea leaves from his company are from living trees, and trees have a root system. They have a communication system and a healing system. And so whatever tea you're drinking from here, you're actually connected to the rest of the world. And so today we're going to do a new one that I got from the membership, and it's called Smoke on the Ridge. Smoke on the Ridge. And this is a Wulang Mountain, Yunnan, China area, and it is a red tea. So in our culture, the translation of a red tea would actually be black tea, and I haven't tasted it, so this is going to be my first time. So in this Cha Dao technique, there's 2 ways to have tea. One is through the bowl. 2 is the gong fu way, which is through a kettle, and the cup is smaller. So the difference between the 2 is equanimity and sensitivity. Equanimity and sensitivity. Equanimity is like what you ground in this world, and it applies to like the balance of this world and harmony. Now, sensitivity is more being in touch with your emotions, your feelings. And so we need actually the balance of both of those things. Too much equanimity, it's going to be more ego, or then too much sensitivity, you're going to be sensitive to it all. Everything's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, you can't smell, you can't eat. Okay, and so we need to have a balance between the two. I hope I'm explaining it right. So the difference too is in the way that we drink it. So like I said, this bowl is small, this teacup is small, right? But the tea is actually steeped in here, okay? And so you don't actually see the tea. And then the bowl technique, you actually do see the tea, okay? And then this way, like, you'll see it dancing and me communicate to you, okay? So I have tried both techniques and I like both techniques, and it just kind of depends on what day I want to do. So if you come to one of our Shin tonic tea ceremonies, then you get to choose if you want to do bowl or gung fu. Yeah, gung fu. So there is an essence to tea with why I called it Shin tonic, because tea can be medicine. And it's from nature, and so it's like an herb as well, but it's not an herb here in this one because it's from a tree. And so the tea can be medicine. And what happens in Chinese medicine is there is an object called Shen, and Shen is the amount of joy that you're living from your heart. It's the amount of spirit that you're living from your heart. This is also the fire element in Chinese medicine, and fire is a pure element. The Chinese really revered fire, but they were also very scared of fire, because fire can make everything burn, right, to the ground and be a base and then eventually like kill itself. Now, used correctly and used with intention, it can light up a room, it can add warmth, it can cook food, right? And so Shen is seen through the eyes. This is why eyes are the windows to the soul. And there's different types of Shen. So when you look at someone, sometimes they have like an intensity about them. That's more like the wood Shen, and it's like very focused. And then there's like these eyes that are just so kind that you feel like, oh, this person wouldn't hurt a thing, and you can just feel their kindness. And then there's like this spark Shen, and I call that peach Shen. Actually, one of my teachers from face reading calls it peach Shen. It's Lillian Bridges. And so that's like the charismatic, the one that's just like excitement and joy. Right? And peach Shen is very lucky. My little girl has this. She's got so much peach Shen. She's like the luckiest little girl in the world. And then there is like this dreamy Shen, right? A lot of Indian people have this, where it's like ethereal, and they're like, you know, I don't want to say like fantasy, but like there's just like this dreaminess about them. And then there's like the magical or like sexy Shen. This is more of the water element, all right, where it's like they're just mysterious. So Shen can change. Like when I do a face reading, I can see people's Shen change in the very beginning and at the end when they are lit up again. And so Shen is in representation like a bird. Okay, so the example that Colin gave was like, it's like a dove, right? And so when things are chaotic, the dove's not going to stay in one place. It's going to fly away, right? And so like in chaos, in turmoil, or like unsteady grounds, or danger, the bird's going to fly away. So that's like you. Now, in stillness and in peace, the bird returns. So the Shen returns. And having tea is like having the Shen return. And so it's a Shen tonic. So I hope that you love that story. And I loved it. So I started doing it and I really was not prepared to do this tea ceremony for people. And then I had to like kind of learn how to do it and put it together. But I wanted to put it together in a way that also conveys like more and modernize it a little bit with the tradition. And I learned a lot of it from Global Tea Hut. Global Tea Hut. He's a master. Can't remember his name now. But look up Global Tea Hut. They are a wonderful community, and they just want to spread the love of tea and ceremony and cultivate community, cultivate healing, cultivate important conversations. And so in this tea ceremony, it is very ceremonial, in which we have an opening and setting an intention, defining the space, purifying the space, and everything is done with a circular technique. Circular, because everything comes back around, and the purpose of it is so that it comes back to the heart. And so when you do things, it's a very rhythmic and it's very flowing. So like if I was to pour water, I would actually pour it from my left hand, and I would pour it from in a form of a circle going clockwise, because then it brings it back to the heart. And then whatever I do on the right hand, I do it from counterclockwise. And then when you drink, there's a certain way of holding it, which is where you hold it, you lift it up with your right hand, and then your left hand goes underneath. Or also, it just depends on what hand you're dominant. If you are left hand, then you want to have the offering hand be underneath like this, and you would just hold it like right here. Yeah. And then this is the guiding hand, and it would be right here where you can hold it like this or like this, and it guides the cup to you. And you want to hold it here at your heart. And when you drink, you want to go to your heart. Now, when you put it down, the same. And every time I serve someone, then I would actually kind of turn it and then offer it. And my little girl did the first ceremony with me, and she was the server, and she practiced it. She's 7 years old, but she was so honored, and she did such a good job because she's not supposed to say anything. And so she would do this, and then she's supposed to smile at them. And remember, SMILE stands for Start My Internal Love Engine. Yeah, Start My Internal Love Engine. I love that. I learned that from Lee Holden, who is a Qigong master. So in preparing for the tea ceremony, I actually had to be very still in my heart, and I never touched the kettle before I check in and I'm still in my heart, because otherwise my energy goes into the water, which then goes to you. And the water carries energy. If you've ever heard of Emoto's water theory, and there's so much more studies with water, and water just really cycles itself. And so this water could have been from, like, you know, a stream from far, like 20 years ago, but it's like come back again. And if you've ever seen the movie Frozen 2, there's so much truth in that, with the water remembers. And so the water quality is very important as well. And you want to brew the water where it's just underneath boiling point, and it's very very cleansing for you and purifying for you. And so in the very beginning, I set the space, making sure that I'm in the center, so that the right and left side are centered, especially with the participants. And you want to open it up by also purifying it in front of them. So cleaning everything in front, and I could have cleaned it before, but you want to purify the space, and so you purify it in front of them. And so by doing that, I set it out here, I make sure that it's in a circular motion, and then I take this hand and I clean it, and I dump it, and then I put it over here, but never blocking my heart from the people in the room. Okay. So, and I'm just going to do another one. So one for the bowl technique and one for the Gung Fu. And you want to when you clean it afterwards, you want to like shake it 3 times and holding it with the Buddha hand. I forgot to do that in the other one. Okay, so here I'm doing the teapot. Beautiful. So then I set this here, and I'll put this back here. So I'm going to fluff up the tea leaves now, just to give it some more air and life. And then I'm gonna put some in the teapot, and I'm gonna leave the other in the bowl. If I have people here, I actually have a little side bowl, and so that I make sure that I have enough. So then when I pour it, I'll show you. You see how it kind of spins? Yeah. And the amount of time that you steep the tea can also make a difference. So in this one here, the smoke on the ridge, they said to actually just do it for like 3 to 4 seconds, and then like a little bit longer. I might need to reread that, because 3 or 4 seconds isn't that long, right? But the first round will be stronger and more fragrant, and so that's why you want to do that. And then serve it to the person. And when you do, you kind of want to bring it in and from the heart. And then when you drink in silence, and you take your time. Time, dimension, space is something else. And you let that stillness be within you. Stillness is not empty, it is full. You can have your eyes open or closed. I like to have mine open because I want to be conscious and take it all in. But if it helps you to close your eyes, do that. There's no right or wrong. Okay? You can't get a tea ceremony wrong, really. It's the energy that you put into it and your desires. Okay? So, cheers. And for the sake of this video, I'm talking, but in the ceremony, it is quiet. And we do this 3 times. 3 times, so 3 rounds, at least. You can go longer. That's when the tea ceremony goes really long. So, cheers. And you can ask the tea for answers. You can give it your worries. You can give it your sorrow. You can give it your grief, your shame. You can ask it to guide you. You can invite your ancestors to tea, or your fears to tea. And breathing in deeper, exhaling slower, and allowing for that stillness to be within you. So you want to hold the tea until you finish drinking it, not putting it down and picking it up, but just sitting in that stillness. So this is like a form of meditation. And I also see meditation as like a spiritual hygiene. Right? Just takes everything back down to neutral. And the reason you want to have the water not at like the boiling point, just a little shy of it, is so that you can drink it right away if you do need to steep it for just 10 seconds. And I always want to have you be reminded to smile, because it stands for Start My Internal Love Engine. So the Kung Fu way is from a smaller cup, and it is prettier, and I love pretty because, you know, it's my metal element. And so it's this, and when I serve it, I'm serving it to you, I turn and then I give it from my heart. So in my ceremony, I start out with pulling a card for wisdom, and then I also give out watercolor pens for them to pick. Oh, and these are my disco ball pens, and they can also use these other pens to write as well. But the watercolor pens, I have them on a piece of paper, right, putting them in the middle, their name, or the vibration that they are, whatever they choose, and they can draw or write. And after they put the teacup down, if they get any messages, they put it on. And so this helps with your creativity, helping you get it out, maybe a mind map. And the first time I did it, when others shared how they had their painting or picture, it was absolutely beautiful to see the arrangement and like all of the energy that was there put on paper. So this way you ground the celestial to the terrestrial. The celestial is like up here, right? And then the terrestrial is our world right now. Your world. The world isn't how it is how you are. Okay. And so we close it out with a conversation then. And when the Shen returns, you're not, and the reason why we needed quiet, because it's natural human instinct to like blah 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 and jab 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 and talk, right? And then trying to get it out and just frivolous talk. When your Shen returns, the conversation is more open-hearted. It is also more meaningful and according to your element, and the shares are more real and vulnerable and strength, and it actually gives strength and healing to everybody else. And for some reason, like a couple of days later, the energy shifts and moves, and you have more courage and more creativity, more joy, more bliss. And this doesn't mean that bad stuff isn't going to happen in your life. It's just life, you know, there's storms. However, it makes you better at life. It makes you better at life. Yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed this and learned something for it. And you can find out more information by going to Global Hut Village, and then you can also look up Ceremonial Tea, the company that I ordered my tea from, and I'll probably order some from Global Hut as well, is Living Tea, and the tea quality is very different. It is more expensive, but it's the whole processing of it and the people, and it's all energetic then. Would you want to put bad energy into your body? So then when we close it out, I always like to close things out intentionally as well, blessing them, and then really just doing maybe some kind of sound vibration. It depends on the group, you know, and what they're open to. So I hope that this helps you be free, helps you find peace, and helps you have grace and courage. I'm Tui Dom, your muse and spiritual ninja, and my mission is to bring peace to your head, heart, and home. And I do this through Chinese face reading and energy clearings, energy medicine, and space clearings.